Now I'll talk about how CDA studies have contributed to historiography, or various tools of CDA has got authenticated by its studies within the field of historical accounts as well as historiography. CDA studies demonstrate how the exploration of discourses of the past can be useful and has yielded some interesting analytical tools and methods in order to study various texts in critical discourse analysis or studies. For example, we have seen that the depth and expansion of the notions like intertextuality, recontextualization, and re-simultaneity by studying various historical accounts from the angle of critical discourse analysis. In addition, there is a diachronic perspective which explores the historical phenomena in a series of time, or in other words, throughout a certain time or certain period of history. So we also seek now discourses being studied diachronically because of this historical inclusion into critical discourse analysis. Some techniques are used, for example, transdisciplinarity or disciplinary, which borrows from other disciplines, for example, the practices of historians or those of historical sociolinguistics have become very important in this strand of critical discourse analysis. The object of these studies are historical in the sense of exploring change and the dynamic nature of discourse, how such discourse has been produced, reproduced over time, and how much that would have or might have or actually have affected the change in a certain society. Further contribution can be seen in form of Wodak's Discourse-Historical Method, which is one of the most popular methods in contemporary critical discourse analysis or studies. This method provides a clear description of how to integrate historical context to critical discourse analysis, highlighting the importance of historicity in conducting various kinds of analysis, or to explore the continuities of discourses. The method highlights the importance of certain scales by modeling context at different levels and situating and finding how different levels of context can actually help us in understanding the meaning of discourses, historical discourses. Then triangulation of different types of data, this DHA, discourse historical approach, suggests us to not rely on one form of data only, rather, if possible, move on to collect data from other sources also and try to triangulate data about a historical event or historical account we want to investigate. Intertextuality is a key concept in this method, which is used to trace the relation and development of constructions of the past across time and space. It looks into how different texts produced at different times are interconnected, and how when finding a connection between them, how could we reach to the meanings they aim to produce or reproduce. Then some interesting discursive strategies are also key players in this method. For example, the strategies used to legitimize things, commonly known as legitimation, argumentation, topol, they all are useful in exploring various historical accounts. And then this method also focuses on some lexico-grammatical features that realize agency among human actors. This method also requires an interdisciplinary group to provide an in-depth interpretation and various perspectives on the topic. This is probably one of the methods in contemporary critical discourse analysis which encourages us to go beyond typical language scholars to also including people working in various fields, for example, anthropology, sociology, depending on the nature of the text you are working on. For example, if you are working on a text about medical discourse, it probably would be helpful consulting some doctors, nurses, or patients who have experience of visiting those medical places where from which the discourse chunks have been taken. Another important contribution to historiography in CD has come from the work informed by linguistic anthropology, which is considered to be the contribution of Blommaert. The contributions have foregrounded the importance of situating discourse in its context of production and reception as well in the history. So relating a historical account to its context by using multiple tools could be useful in digging out deep meanings. And then historical layering is one of the ways in which this historicity has been addressed. This concept attempts to capture the layered simultaneity in the context in the discourses which have been produced simultaneously, or in other words, we can say it looks into the historicity in synchronic studies of discourses, the studies which are happening at the same time. That's why we call them synchronic. And then they also rely on the concepts such as indexicality, recontextualization, or re-entextualization, which may be interpreted as small variations in the context and not overall decontextualization of the text. Therefore, it focuses on layering of a context and the discourse in order to see various historical influences on it, and therefore finding some critical meanings out of it. The importance of ethnography is also evident in the situated nature of this type of work. This approach also foregrounds the significance of place, the place where a certain event has happened or certain historical account has been created. Because we can say that the discourses belong to certain geographic or imagined spaces. And to find out and analyze those spaces is very important to reach the real meanings or important meanings of a text.